Today we're going to look at the volume of a cone, a sphere and a pyramid. These are all shapes that you can be asked to find the volume of at National 5. We're going to start off with the cone. Now the formula for the volume of a cone is given to you on the formula sheet. It's V equals 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times by the height. So what do we mean by all that? First of all, the radius we know goes from the centre of a circle to the edge. So that there is my radius. Remember, if we go from one edge to the other, it's called the diameter. Our height goes from the bottom of our shape all the way to the top. And that's our height. So let's have a look at an example. So the example says, find the volume, giving your answer to correct to 2 decimal places. Now, look at the diagram we've been given. We know that the formula is V equals 1/3 times pi times the radius squared times by the height. I know that my radius goes from the centre of a circle to the edge, so that means that my radius must be 5 centimetres. And I know that my height goes from the very base to the top, so my height must be 10 centimetres. So I'm going to put these two pieces of information into my formula. So I'll have 1/3 times pi times the radius squared, which is 5 squared, times the height, which is 10. And then from there I can just type that into my calculator. So if you have a Casio, you will have a fraction button here. You can press that and do 1/3 to get your third. If you don't have that, pop in a bracket. 1 divided by 3 will give you the same as 1/3, because remember, a fraction is just a division sum. So I have 1/3 times pi, which is down here. So to get that, I have to do shift and then this times 10 button to give me pi, times 5 squared times 10. If my answer comes up like this, or as a fraction, I just push the S to D button, turn it into decimal. So I get 261.79938. And my question said I must give my answer to 2 decimal places. Now when these questions are given, you have to show your unrounded answer first and then round your answer. So 2 decimal places is going to be 261. 2 decimal places. The 9 tells me to round up, which means I'm going to have to keep rounding, and that is 2 decimal places. My units are centimetres cubed. Have a go of this one. You might want to pause the video. Okay, so again, we know our formula. We know our radius goes from centre to edge, so our radius is 8 centimetres. We know our height goes from bottom to top, so our height is 10 centimetres. I'm going to pop these into my formula. So volume is 1/3 times pi times the radius squared, which is 8 squared, times by the height, which is again 10 centimetres. I'm going to pop this into my calculator. So again, I'm going to do 1 divided by 3 times pi times 8 squared times 10. Change it into decimal, gives me 670.20643. Again, I want my answer to 2 decimal places. So 670, 2 decimal places, and the 6 tells me to round up. So 0.21 centimetres cubed. The next example we have to look at is when we don't have the radius. Instead, we have this distance from edge to edge, which is our diameter. So our diameter is 20 centimetres, but I want my radius. How do I go from diameter to radius? I half it. So half of 20 centimetres is 10 centimetres. And I know that my height goes from base to top, which is again 10 centimetres. So writing out my formula, 1/3 pi r squared times height. So 1/3 times pi times the radius, which is 10 squared, times by the height, which is 10. And again, pop it into my calculator. Change it into a decimal. Gives me 1047.19755. Again, I want 2 decimal places, so 1, 2, 7 tells me to round up. Rounds that up to a 10, which rounds that up to a 2. But I have to write 2 decimal places, so I have to put in this 0 for my place value. Have a go of this one. Again, you might want to pause the video. Okay, so we know our formula. We know that this goes from edge to edge, so it must be our diameter. I know that my radius is half of the diameter, so half of 10 is 5 centimetres. And I know that my height goes from bottom to top, so is 10 centimetres also. That's this distance here. So, putting these into my formula, I have 1/3 times pi times the radius squared, which is 5 squared, times the height, which is 10. And this is going to give us the same answer as the very first question we did. So when you pop it in your calculator, you get 261.79938, and that rounded to 2 decimal places is 261.80 centimetres cubed.